rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 76 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Clarify your intentions. And what I mean by that is we need to, you hear this about, a lot when people are talking about defining their lives and creating value for their lives and whatnot. Basically, what's your fucking reason for getting up in the morning and going to bed at night, right? It's about having intent, having purpose in what you're doing. And it comes down to intentions is another way of saying it. I was reading the Daily Stoic the other day, and it said, let all your efforts be directed to something. So if you're going to get up and you're going to, adult and bathe and hygiene, please do. And then you're going to go through all the trouble of getting dressed and shovel the driveway and get the kids off to school and do all those things, right? You might as well do it with an intention, with a purpose, with a reason, so that it makes sense and that you want to do a better job at it and that you want to be consistent with it. Law 29 of the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene says, plan all the way to the end, right? Really cool book. I read it a long time ago, and I was just, reading this quote about it, and, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I want to go back and read that book, but it's really cool. Right? That's just one of the principles, right? And these are all things that if you talk to highly successful people that have done, been successful in any area, right? Or you read about them, or you listen to their podcast after you listen to ours. These are the themes that come up all the time, right? Intention, vision, purpose, a plan, right? Was it if you have failed to plan or plan your work, right? Or sorry, if you don't plan your work, you fail to plan. How does that go? Okay, I'm an idiot today. How does it go, Luke? Do you remember how that goes? Save me here, Luke. Plan your work and work your plan, I think, is the one I'm looking at.
Or I think you were also looking at failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah, see, that's exactly right? So those two things work really well. Nothing but quality here, guys, on the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Nothing but quality. And then a really cool book that everyone should read, and if they haven't, they got to go out and read, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And the second habit he talks about is begin with the end in mind, right? What are you doing this all about? So whether you're having a family, what's the purpose of having your family? And I don't mean like it's to generate doctors and marry your daughters off to hockey players. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're going to have a family, what is it you want to get out of your family? And these are obviously conversations you should have with your partner, your spouse. What does family mean to you and what's important? And then you build your life around that, right? Same thing with work. If you're going to work, if you walk in and your attitude is, hey, dude, listen, this is just something I do Monday to Friday to get to the weekends. Well, pick a job where that's the level of effort and care that's required. So, I'm thinking the gas station attendant at the self-serve, the guy that takes forever to fucking hit the okay button when you're standing there at minus 40. You ever do that? You're sitting there, you pull up, you get outside, you're sitting there, you pick your fuel choice, and then you just got to wait forever. And you see Buddy, he's in the shack, and he's like, not doing it. He's not fending off bandits or anything like that, but he fucking takes forever. I'm like, what is it? Is he just fucking with you? I don't know what it is and stuff. It just drives me crazy. So if that's the level of effort you want to put into something, then find that career choice and that path, and then understand that that's going to get you X, Y, Z, right? And then enjoy your dart league on the weekend if that's what you're living for and stuff. And that's okay. If that really melts your butter, then that's what you do, right? But don't go and have that kind of attitude and intention, but then wonder why you can't get a job that's more fulfilling or can't get a career that pays you more, right? You know what I mean? Like, you've got to really look at what are you bringing to the table for yourself, right? That kind of thing. So I think that's really cool when we look at, beginning with the end in mind, right? In other words, what's your vision Do you have goals? Have a huge why, right? We talked about this before. The bigger the why for any goal that you have, right, gives you a better chance of success, right? My goal is to lose 10 pounds, fails far more often than my goal is to run a 5K, of which I've already signed up for and I've told everybody I'm doing it, right? At the end of the day, if I run 5K, I'm losing 10 pounds. I know I've ran a couple of 5Ks. I did some army runs. I got leaner because I had to run. I had to practice it and stuff like that. No easy feat for a guy my size. But I always said I wanted to do it. So I did what I always do. Decided I was going to do it, signed up for it, and told a whole bunch of fucking people at the gym and online that I was doing it, right? So I don't want to turn around and come back to douchebag going, oh, well, I didn't do it for whatever reason. All too many people do that, and that definitely doesn't help reinforce self-esteem and confidence and pride of accomplishment, right? So that why is so important, right? Because then that's what's going to direct you throughout your day. When you get up in the morning, that's part of your purpose, part of your intention, and the other thing, too, is that if you have an intention, if you have goals, and you can have multiple goals. Now, some people go goal crazy and they have 100 goals. It's January. I'm recording this January 11th and stuff, and we're knee deep in people with New Year's Eve revolutions. And we know by the 15th or the 20th, 80% of them are off already. And that's part of the reason. Not big enough, not sustainable, not measurable, not accountable, right? But what happens is if you don't have a clear determination of what you want to achieve, right? Then we run into other issues, because if we don't have those intentions set forth and we don't know with clarity what we want to do, clarify your intentions. If we don't have clarity on what those intentions are, how else are we going to know what to do daily? Seriously, how are we going to plan our day? If we don't have a reason, I don't have to be at work till 5. Well, you know what's going to happen? You're going to fucking Netflix till 4:40, right? Because that's it. You're just showing up. And if I show up, I'll do the bare minimum. I'll get my check and I'll get out. Right? So that affects the day. So that's why you're wandering mentally, physically with your time. How are you going to know if you're off course? How are you going to know that if you are moving towards that goal, if you don't have the clarity of that goal? You have nothing to give it yourself a sounding board. You've got nothing to compare against, right? You don't have something to decide if I'm moving towards it or not. So you're just aimless. It's like driving in a car and just going for a drive on a Sunday. Where are you going? I don't know. I'm going to turn left and I feel like turning right. What's down here? It's okay to do once in a while to relax, but that's definitely not a way to lead a purpose-driven life, a goal-oriented life, a vision-based life, right? And the other thing that's going to happen is if you don't have a clear intent of what you need to do to get to your goals, how are you going to know when to say no? Because all kinds of things come across us. Phone calls, emails, conversations, right? People want to get in front of us and they want to steal our time. They want to get something from us. It's human nature. The more that you're out there, the more you're going to run into this. People email me all the time. They want to sell me something. People call all the time. They want to talk to me. I don't know how many fucking phone calls I get from a guy who wants to sell me debit paper or a new debit machine, right? It's crazy, right? But part of that is not being able to say no. If I say no, because when something comes across my desk or my email or in my line of path or my line of sight, and there's a question, do I want to do this or not? Do I want to get involved or not? If I have a clear intention, I have clarity as to what I'm trying to achieve, then it becomes very easy for me to say yes or no. Does this move me towards my goal? Then yes, let's look at it. Does this move me away from my goals? Then it's a no. And if it's ambiguous where you can't tell or not, it's still a no. If it's not a yes right away, then it's a no. But you can only do that if you have a direction and you have intention to your day, to your week, to your month, to your life, to your attention span, to your energy level, right? We can't be everything to everyone. We all tried it at certain points and we burn out. I read a lot of books on business, and one of the things I did was a book I read a long time ago was called The Millionaire Mind. And one after that was called The Millionaire Next Door. And I don't know if it was the same author or not. I can't remember. But they talked about self-made millionaires. And the average age of a self-made millionaire was 56 or 57, if I remember correctly. But most often, they were also involved in niches that weren't, what you would standard think. I think one of the examples this guy was using was this guy who had a junkyard. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't whatever to other people, but to this guy, he really enjoyed it. His dad, I think, was a mechanic and stuff, so that's how he got into it. But the one thing that really became apparent is that that's all he focused on. That's all he did. That was his niche. And because of that focus and that attention to that, right, things grew for him, move forward. I was having a conversation last night with a guy at the gym, and he's a farmer. And you don't run into a lot of young guys. This guy's probably about 30. You don't run into a lot of young guys that are farming anymore. But he grew up on the farm, and of all the siblings, he's the one who decided to stay on the farm. I grew up on the farm as well. I miss it sometimes, right? Hard life, very different life. But he loves it. But because he loves it, he focuses on those things, and he's doing different things on the farm to generate income that traditional farming wouldn't do, right? But the whole purpose is that he wants to stay as a farmer. So how can I stay as a farmer? What do I need to do to stay in this niche? But what can I do to make sure that I can do it well, profitably, care for my family, raise a family, right? Be happy, have a sense of fulfillment, right? So it was cool, the conversation we were having and talking about the different things he's doing while on the farm. And the one thing that came to us is that one of the things that helps this, I think, long-term success is being in your thing long enough, time in. I've been in the fitness industry now for 20, 25 years or more now, one form or the other. And there's opportunities that come to me now because I've been around that long, right? There's opportunities, there's deals, there's things that come around because I've just been in the game that long. And there's a lot to be said for that. So, but if you're going to be in a game or in a niche for a long time, it better be something you love doing, that you want to be part of and you want to do. All that stuff ties in together. It's all part of that intention. What is it you want to do, right? The other thing you want to know is that, without intentions and without knowing where you're going and what you're doing and why you're doing it, how will you ever know if you get there, right? How will you know if you've arrived, if you've accomplished a goal, right? If you've gotten to that point, if you don't know what that point looks like or what you think it looks like? Again, because what happens is we start just being aimless and wandering. And a big part of it can be with our attention, with our focus, right? If my goal is to produce and record, a podcast, well, the first time I did it back in 2013, I got 5 or 6 episodes out. They were kind of good and stuff. I did it all myself, but then I got sidetracked. Other things came up, and I really enjoyed doing it, but other things came in the way. This second rendition, we're recording episode 76 now, right? One of the big reasons for success is because I'm working with Luke at Podcast Wagon, right? Because we have us in the situation where we sit down weekly. We know that it's important to both of us. It's something that we have to do. It's planned, and we're being consistent with it. And it's a goal I have. I want to build a great podcast, and I enjoy podcasting. Even if I look at how I'm podcasting now and the things I'm talking about, there's I know you'll never know this, but there's some episodes where I just fucking wung it. What the fuck? I probably just insulted the Asian population there. Sorry. You know what I mean? There's times where I'm like, let's just talk about this, right? And that's okay. If you listen to anybody's first few podcasts, stuff like that, they're not the prettiest, but they only get really good and they get much better when they're in episode 30, 100, 500. You got Joe Rogan. You listen to his first couple of podcasts, fucking horrible, right? But when you do something, the early editions aren't going to be great. John Lee Dumas says it the best. If you wait till it's perfect, you waited too long, right? You should look back and be embarrassed about the first couple of renditions. And that's the way I do a lot of things, when we do our stuff and our designs for our clothing and our artwork and stuff like that. Sometimes if I look back at some of the first prints we did, I'm like, oh my God. I pulled out a shirt the other day and I'm like, oh my God, I remember it was one of the first ones I ever printed like 8-9 years ago. And you know what? I wore it just because it was nostalgic, right? That kind of stuff. And I threw it out after that, right? But the cool designs that we're doing now never would have happened if I hadn't done those first. I think that was a shirt that said one more rep, and was like in just basic stencil lettering and stuff like that, right? It's a classic. Beast mode. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. But at the end of the day, now we got skulls and axes and fucking propellers and all kinds of, a lot of cool shit that it's evolving, and it's fun to see it evolve. But it doesn't happen until you decide, I'm going to do this. And know that, I'm going to take some shots to the fucking balls at first, and it's not going to be easy. I'm going to make some mistakes. It's going to feel weird. Some people are going to laugh, right? But that's all right, because they're going to do that anyway, right? So having that, I don't know if you can hear, I got a cat meowing in the background. For Christmas, we got a cat, a wild animal. I call him Maniac. And if you didn't hear that, then I just made all that up. But that intention thing, right? That focus is one of the things that made a big difference. So why is this podcast humming along into the 70s? You know, we're going to be done almost 80 episodes by the end of today. Whereas the last time I got 8 or I think 7, I got 7 out. And then that was 2013. I didn't come back to it until 2017 because I wasn't purposeful enough. My intention wasn't strong enough, right? And then I didn't have things in play that said, look, I'm going to do this. And to do this, here's the areas I need to improve upon. Here's some of the tools I need to incorporate. And it was weird because we talked about this before. I was sitting there and a couple guys have been asking me about the podcast. And I was saying, I got to get that podcast going. And I was literally I had said that thought in my mind. I got to get my podcast going. And Luke had popped something up literally within a couple of minutes that he was launching Podcast Wagon, right? So that shit's crazy. The synchronicity of stuff that happens like that. I, sent him off an email, and I think a week later, 2 weeks later, we were recording the first podcast. Boom, right? So that's the difference. I'm still the same guy. That podcast then and that podcast now, but the clarity of my intention had increased, had dramatically improved. Right? I put a line in a sand, a fucking line in the sand. Luke gave me some dark chocolate, and I think it's fucking with you. I don't know what's going on, stuff like that. He said it was chocolate. Anyway, it's crazy. It didn't even have a wrapper. It was in a Kleenex. But anyway, some Happy Go coffee will counteract the poisons and toxins. But that's what I mean, guys. Having that purpose to get up, right? And have a purpose day. And listen, I got lots to do, and there's things I want to do, things that are important, that are moving me towards my goals. And because I've got all those things going on, I also know that my day has to work so that if I have to drive my kids to school or pick them up from hockey or drive them to a hockey game because my wife's working late or whatever, I have to be better organized to be able to handle all that stuff. Because what I don't want to have happen is I've got these goals that I want to do for the business, but I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't do it because I got to take the kid to hockey. Well, you know what? That's an excuse. So what I got to do is say, hey, schedule in the stuff for the kids' hockey. And this is something I'm working on actively now. So that when I look at my own schedule, I can see, I got to get my daughter to hockey here, or my son's going here, kind of stuff. So if I can't wait till 4 o'clock to do the couple things I need to get done for the business because I got to do this then. So that means I got to get up maybe a little bit earlier, get those things done sooner, which means I got to get to bed a little earlier, right? So that's where the purpose and the clarity of the intentions come in because they make you, right, make things fall into place more effectively, right? We don't have the luxury of just focusing on just one thing and that's it. I mean, it'd be great if we could. It might be a little lonely. Put all your eggs in one basket. If it doesn't work out, then it's a big crash and burn, right? I think we're multidimensional. I think we can have different, aspects to our life that are important to us. So for me, family, children, my wife, my training, benching, the gym, the brand, I can have all those things. But to do that and to do it effectively, I have to get smarter, more purposeful, right? And become just more determined to do it. But to do that, I have to cut away distractions. I have to say no to things that have nothing to do with what my goals are for the day, right? And that's the important. But again, guys, it's having that clarity. It's having that purpose and figuring out what it is. So, but to do all that, you got to sit down and figure out, well, what is it I want to do? What's important? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? What did I do in 17? What do I want to do in 18? What's going to be the difference? And then, you kind of reverse engineer things after that. So begin with the end in mind, right? If I want to have this, and this level of things happening in the different facets of my life, and those are the goals I want to have, and that's how I want it to be, that's the end result, well, then now I reverse engineer things back. What do I need to do? What do I need to fix? What do I need to get better at? What do I need to cut away? That's where the clarity comes in. And above all, guys, work hard, motherfuckers, because that's the only way anything's going to happen. So if you're going to work hard, it might as well be towards something that's special and important to you. Guys, that's all I got to say about that for now. Head on over to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review. If you're listening to us on iTunes already, just at the end of this episode, you can quickly scroll down, give us some love, give us some 5 stars. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Don't forget, use the code Silverback to get 20% off anything we have on the site. And I'll talk to you guys later.